All right, Mr. Harper here again. We're going to kind of finish up this Magic Hoops game. Last time you should have added a sprite. You should be able to move it using the arrow keys and make it jump. I did change my key press because I think I had my jump key was with the space. I went ahead and changed that to the up arrow because I'm going to use the space to shoot the basketball. So you can do that if you like. So the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need a gold sprite or a hoop to kind of shoot the ball through. So I'm just going to use the paint tool. We're going to go to circle. We're going to paint a circle, which is what I want. One thing to keep in mind, yours might be a little bit different from mine. You want to make sure your fill, you don't have a fill. So by clicking this, that way you don't have a fill. You can click the drop down menu next to outline, and we can make this any color we want. So that color, I'm going to keep mine back to yellow. So let's that bright yellow. And we can also change the thickness. Just want to make sure you're in your select tool so you can select it. One thing, if you did draw it, there's a little plus sign in the middle of your sprite. You want to make sure that plus sign is right here in this little crosshairs because that's actually the center of your sprite. So if you don't have it right, it's not going to act right. So what we're going to do, the code for this one is really simple. We just want this to move around randomly on the screen. So we're going to go to when the green flag is clicked. We found an event, forever. We're going to go to motion. We could use this glide to random position, but the problem with that is it can go all the way down here, all the way up, and we don't want that. So we're going to use this glide to and use our own random numbers. So I'm going to go to operators. We're going to get this pick random block, place it in the X. So the X axis in sprite is going to be 240 to negative 240. It should go off the screen a little bit, but that shouldn't be a big deal. That will allow it to move back and forth, but we do want to pay close attention to this Y number, okay? So what you can do, you can actually, depending on the size of your sprite, you can actually drag it how low you want the hoop to go. So I only want it to go down, let's say this low, and that says negative 53, so let's go negative 55 would work well. So I'm going to pick random, and let's drag this over so you can see it. So the first number is going to be negative 55. And what's the highest we want it? So let's take this, drag it up. Want it to go about right here. That's 146. So probably, let's go 145 would be perfect. So to 145. So just by dragging those numbers, just dragging this around, you can kind of figure out where you want it. So now when I press the green flag, there's my hoop going. He's moving around. Now, when I shoot the basketball, I want to get a point with the basketball goes through the hoop. Well, since that's transparent, we need to actually make a hit box, and we should check to see if the basketball is colliding with the hit box. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to hit stop. We'll do pretty much the same process. We're going to go here. We're going to paint a new sprite. Instead of a circle, we're going to go with a square. And we're going to want a fill. Doesn't matter on the color, but we do want this filled in. And we can just go like that. Outline, we can go no outline. That'll be just fine. And you can kind of resize this to make it whatever size you want. Just make sure it's lined up in the middle. The color doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to see it when we play the game. So I'm going to go to events. When the green flag is clicked, I'm going to go to looks. And you might be tempted to say we want to hide this, but we don't want to hide it because if we hide it, we won't be able to actually interact with it. So what we're going to do, we're going to set, instead of color effect, the ghost effect, we're going to set that to 100. And when I click the green flag, it goes away. When I hit stop, there it goes. So that's fine. So this next part is really simple. We're going to go to control, forever. We're going to want this hit box here to go to sprite. So let's go motion, go to, And I didn't rename my sprite, so let's go ahead and name this one. Sprite 1 should be goal. Sprite 2 should be hitbox. Okay? So let's go back to our hitbox. We don't want it to go to a random position. We actually want it to go to the goal. So now it's going to follow my goal around. Okay? And if I hit stop, if I take off this set ghost effect, you can actually see it's going to be following that goal around. Okay? But that's not going to look very good, so that's why we were going to go ahead and set this ghost effect. Alright? So the next part we're going to do is we're actually going to program the basketball, which will probably be the hardest part. There's a little bit more code on this one, okay? So we're going to go to sprites, and we're going to get a basketball, okay? So that's the first step. All right, so we've added our basketball. That name basketball should be fine. That's what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this for just a second, and we're going to add some code to our basketball. So I want the basketball to shoot when I press space. If you do have your player jumping when you press space, you might want to change that to like an up arrow or some other thing. I'm going to leave minus up arrow. So let's go back to the basketball. So when I press space, we're going to make it play a sound first to make it, that way we have a audio to let us know we done that. I'm going to go basketball sound. That sounds good. After it plays the sound, we want the ball to go to our player sprite. And this time we're going to need a variable, so we're going to click on variables. And we're going to make a variable. And we're going to call this variable y velocity. And we're going to make this for this sprite only. That's really important because we don't want this y velocity messing with the cat's velocity, okay? So we're going to hit OK. And what we're going to do after we go to the player, we're going to actually set the y velocity to 24. All right. And then we're going to click look, so we're going to make it show. I know we haven't hit it yet, but we are going to hide the ball, which is fine. And then we're going to go to control. We're going to get a repeat loop, but we're going to get a repeat until. And so we basically want we're basically going to have the ball jump up, and we're going to have it keep going down, and we wanted the ball to keep doing that until it reaches the ground. And if you remember on our cat, we set the ground to 130. That's the ground. So the ball is going to have the same ground as the cat. So we're going to go to operators, and we're going to go to less than. Make sure you get the less than one. We're going to go to motion, and we're going to get the ball's Y position. We're going to repeat this until it's less than -130. So what we're going to do, we're going to have the ball go out a little bit by changing X by 8. We're going to also change Y by our Y velocity. Okay. Then we're going to be changing Y velocity by -2 to make it come back down. And we're going to, let's go ahead and make it turn right 6 degrees. And we're going to be checking, so we're going to go to control. We're going to be checking for if, that's going to do 2 of them. So if it's touching the hitbox, and we're gonna get another operator. The Y velocity, we're gonna go Y velocity is less than 0. So basically what that's gonna check to make sure, oops, looks like I deleted that one. Control Z, there we go. If the Y velocity is less than 0, so that means the ball is falling. So if it's touching the hitbox and the ball is falling, not going up, then that means we've made it through the hoop. So we don't want to be able to go through and shoot the ball through the hoop like that and get a point. We want to make sure the ball goes through the hoop like that. So that's what that checks. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, right now, let's make it play a sound. So we're going to go to click the sounds tab, click the sounds button. I'm going to go to sports. Let's see. Yep, let's get the cheer. Go back to code and sound, and I'm going to start the sound cheer. So now, when I shoot the basketball, it only works if the basketball goes through it. There we go. So something simple. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to make another variable, and we're going to call this score. And I'm going to keep the score on this basketball. So very simply, events, when the green flag is clicked, let's go ahead and set our score to 0. And before I forget, I'm going to go to looks, and let's go ahead and hide this basketball. Okay. So now when I shoot the basketball, it should go away. There we go. So what we're going to do, we're going to broadcast. We're actually going to change the score by 1 when if it's touching. So let's go to score, variables, change my variable by 1. Let's change my score by 1. Make sure that's inside this if statement underneath sound cheer. So let's see if we can get it to work. Not very good at my own game. There we go. So I got this for my variable. That should be score. Let's try this again. There we go. Now you might have noticed my score went up by a lot. So we're actually going to have to change this a little bit more by making another variable, but it's called basket made. And we can just do for the sprite only. Let's click here, made basket. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to set made basket to no. And let's actually want to put that at the very beginning here. So we're going to set this to no. Okay. And what we're going to do, so if it's touching a hitbox and while velocity is less than 0, we're going to actually change this. We're going to add another and you got to be very careful how you stick these in, but you notice it turns white. So when that turns white, I can drop that in there. So this one right here, get it equal sign. And we're going to get and made basket equals no. It should play the sound cheer and change score by 1. What I'm going to do now, after we did that, we're going to change made basket to we're not going to change it, sorry, we're going to set made basket to yes. So let's try this now and see what happens. So notice I only get 1 point. So I have to make another variable to make that happen. So it's pretty simple. A little complicated, but it worked. All right. So in a nutshell, this is it. This is how you make this simple game. Really simple. So first thing I'm going to do, I got all these variables I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck Y velocity, uncheck made basket. I can keep score right here. I'm going to click on player 1. I'm going to get rid of the Y velocity. And this score is on all of them, so we want to keep that one checked. So that's it. That's the game in a nutshell. If you want to add some extra things to your game, like another player or add like a way to freeze, that would probably be a good idea. But go ahead, modify the game. Let me know what you come up with. Okay? Goodbye.